What's up, Ravens fans? It's time to hear from you guys in our Ravens Mailbag segment. The first question today comes from Mexican Spider 3. And Mexican Spider wants to know, will Gus Edwards be the starter, or will we look to add a new #1 running back?
Well, I think that Gus Edwards certainly earned the opportunity to have a chance to be the starting running back entering next season. He's definitely going to be around. And he obviously impressed a lot of people. I mean, he runs with power, he's got good feet, he's nimble, he breaks tackles. There's a lot to like about Gus Edwards. But he's not a guy that I necessarily am ready to plant my flag in and say, this is my #1 guy, absolutely. I mean, the Ravens have kind of been in this position for a number of years. Alex Collins had a great season a year ago, but were you really ready to push all your chips in the center of the table for him? I'm using all the cliches.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Terrence West. I mean, there are guys who kind of have good seasons, but you're like, are they a #1 workhorse, true kind of game-breaking guy? Gus Edwards is really good. Is he a game-breaking running back? I wouldn't say so right now. So I expect the Ravens to probably add a running back. And I look to the draft as the more likely scenario. Eric DeCosta, even after last year's draft, said one regret that he had was not getting a running back in that class. I expect him to probably look at one in this year's draft.
I think it'll be really interesting if a really good running back is available early. I mean, I'm talking first round. They don't have a second-round pick, but in the third round, like if you have a guy early, do you pull the trigger on that?
I think first or third round, definitely a possibility. And if they get a comp pick in the third round, you got an extra third-round pick. Yeah. It's interesting.
All right, let's keep it moving here. The next question comes from Greg Duncan, and the question here is there a chance that Bradley Bozeman will be competing at center with Matt Skura this offseason? Yeah, I do think so. Bradley Bozeman is a guy, late-round draft pick, came in here, earned a spot on the roster, and I think impressed everybody. He played really well when given his opportunities at guard. And I think that overall, the Ravens want to beef up their offensive line, particularly the middle of the offensive line. The tackles are set with Stanley and Orlando Brown. Yanda, assuming he comes back, is going to be your right guard. But I think that center spot and the left guard spot, they want to maybe upgrade a little bit. Is Bradley Bozeman an upgrade over Skura? I think we're going to wait and see.
Right.
But he's bigger. He's a little bit bigger. And I think that Bozeman played well. So I definitely think that there's a chance there. And I also think, where we're talking about these first and third round picks, I think that there's a chance the Ravens could use one of those picks to maybe add a center, an interior lineman.
Well, let's look at Matt Skura. He stepped in for Yanda at guard before taking over the starting job at center.
Yeah.
Bozeman kind of had a similar thing, was a spot starter at guard. Now maybe he, like Skura did last year, gets a shot to prove himself at center.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a competition.
Yeah, for sure. Even if they draft somebody, it'll be a competition. Our last question comes from @only1ya. The question is, should we go all offense in this year's draft like we did a couple years ago for the defense? Well, I think they're forgetting that we also went all offense in last year's draft. The Ravens' first 4 picks were all on the offensive side of the ball. You had Hayden Hurst, Lamar Jackson, Orlando Brown, and Mark Andrews. So, will the Ravens go offense again?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I could see this really going either way, and I think a lot of it's going to be based on what happens in free agency and who the Ravens end up parting ways with. If they move on from C.J. Mosley, Zadarius Smith, Terrell Suggs, Eric Weddle, Brandon Carr, Jimmy Smith, any combination of those, then yeah, you have more needs on defense, and I could see them drafting somebody to kind of replace some of those older pieces on defense. That's a pretty likely scenario, I think. Then again, the Ravens also know that they need to build this offense around Lamar Jackson, and they have a lot of needs on offense. When you talk about offensive line, wide receiver, I can't believe there's not a question on that tonight. And running back, as we already talked about. So I don't see them going probably as heavy one way or the other as they did the past 2 years. Probably more likely a split down the middle, but it's really going to depend on what happens in free agency.
So they have 2 picks in the first 3 rounds, and they're going to take some combination of running back, offensive line, safety, pass rusher, corner, inside linebacker.
But yeah, exactly.
Thank you for
Narrow
breaking it down.
Narrow it down.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to talk about the draft a lot between now and April, but as always, we'd love to hear from you guys. So send in those questions every single week on social media using the hashtag RavensMailbag. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.